Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Legacy Lawyers podcast. I'm here, your host, Nathan Croxford, and I have with me Brian Edwards from our firm today.
Hello.
Brian, it seems like we do this a lot recently.
And we do, yeah. It's great. I enjoy it. It's a fun time.
I do too. So let's jump right in. Today, what we're going to talk about is something that I think you and I both encountered in our individual practices here at the firm. I had no idea until I saw some of the research that our team did for this episode, how big of an issue this is. But I'll start by asking you a question. When you're having a conversation with a client and you're asking, who would you like to act as your successor trustee, or who should be your healthcare agent, or who should handle your funeral arrangements? We're kind of making an assumption when we ask those questions. And what is that assumption?
Yeah, the assumption is the client has children and they're going to pick their children to come in and be trustee, power of attorney, funeral arrangements, and take care of them at that time.
Yeah, which is super normal thing to do. Like in the vast majority of situations when people have children, you kind of have this nice pre-selected group of candidates to act in this capacity, and it generally goes pretty smoothly. Now, I don't want to overgeneralize. There are families that have different dynamics, and sometimes those relationships aren't the way that people want them to be in terms of having those people act. So there are times where children don't fill that role. But particularly today, what we're going to talk about is, I'll just give you a statistic. A recent Census Bureau study, there are 22 million older adults, 60 years of age or older, living in the United States who live alone and are childless, which makes up 20%, 27% of that age group. So they're saying that in the United States, that's the most concentrated group of those people in the entire world. So apparently in the US, we have the most people above the age of 60, or the highest concentration of the people older than 60 who live alone and have no children. So when we ask those questions, that can be a challenge for a lot of people. What we're really talking about, they've actually coined a term for this, Solo-Agers. So someone who is living in their their older years, their retirement years, without a partner living with them or other family members living with them, and they have no children. So this episode today is for all of those people out there. We don't want this to be a difficult decision. We want to try to talk about ways that we can make this a simpler process to select the people who would act in your estate plan in roles of important responsibility.
Yeah.
So, with that said, I guess I will start out by saying that, and maybe you've had this experience as well, Brian. Even though you have a group of children that you get along with, that you have good relationships with, I still see couples or single people who have children who struggle to select out of those children who should act in those various capacities. Is that something you've seen?
I have, yeah. And sometimes it's not just a matter of, well, it is a matter of who, but it's a matter of how many of the who, too. Like, do we want just one person, two people, three people acting together? And I don't want to leave this child out. That comes up a lot.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's almost
That
a
always cracks
conversation.
me up too, because if people understood what it means to be named in some of these roles and the amount of work it's going to create for them down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, in my family, I would so love to be the guy that could just say to the trustees, "Hey, call me when you're cutting the checks." But I'm kind of definitely never going to be in that position because I drafted the plan. I'm the oldest in the family. There's just so many reasons why that's not going to be me. But
Oh,
if
I'm
you're listening and you're thinking, gosh, I really am offended that I was left out of a responsibility in an estate plan, trust me, there are worse things than being somebody that just sits on the sideline and waits for the estate to be settled. So, I actually, when I go back, gosh, 13 years ago or so, when I changed where I practiced law and joined up forces with Mike, and we formed Voyant Legal. Um, there was a kind of a law firm influencer that we followed for a time that kind of helped us build some of the systems that we now use in our firm. And um, she had a way of discussing um, who should act in what capacity with couples or with individual clients that would kind of take the stress out of that decision making process for them. Um, and I think it works here as well for the Solo-Ager, even where they don't have children of their own. And so people would come in, and the story that she would tell is, you know, a parent would come in and they'd be stressing out about, well, you know, I want to include this sister. Um, that's who's going to be my go-to for guardianship for our minor children if something happens to us. But I also don't want to leave out my brother or
yeah.
my spouse's siblings. And what she would always say to them, and what I've gotten into a habit of saying to my clients, and I think it works for the Solo-Ager as well, is let's strip away all the emotional you know, all the emotional stuff around those decisions. And let's just focus on who would do the best job in that particular role. So let's just get down right to the beginning. Who's got the best skill set, the best temperament, um, the best overall, um, you know, makeup to be the best person in that position. So we're going to kind of talk about four different roles today. There are maybe a few more than that, but we're going to talk about who should be a successor trustee, meaning you have a trust. You are the trustee to start with, as long as you're living and have capacity. But if you were to become incapacitated or pass away, who would step into your shoes and essentially be the administrator of your estate? Okay. What's the next one, Brian? There's successor trustee.
So financial power of attorney. So
Yeah,
who,
there you go.
yeah, who handles your finances while you're still alive? Medical power of attorney who can make healthcare decisions on your behalf if you can't make them yourself, and funeral arranger, somebody who's going to take care of, really it's who's going to take care of your body when you pass away, who's going to carry out your wishes for your body and plan the funeral if it's not planned already, or and go that route.
Make sure that if you want to be cremated, that you actually get a cremation versus a burial, or
Exactly.
if you're being buried, if it's your wish that you not have an open casket viewing, that that doesn't happen, right? So
Yeah.
these are all they're four very important roles that need to be filled.
And I mean,
Um,
honestly, I wouldn't say one is more important than the other either. Like they're all
no,
equally important roles to be
yeah,
filled for sure.
yeah. Some of them are a little bit more potentially long term than the others. The funeral arranger's job is going to be probably run its course in the first couple
That's
weeks,
true.
right?
Yeah,
After you pass, and then that person's job is done. Um, the power of attorney, the non-medical, like general durable power of attorney, the agent that acts for financial and legal and property issues if you're unable to manage your own financial affairs, they may never have that job because that only comes into play if you are incapacitated, and not
Yeah.
everybody experiences incapacitation before they pass away. Um, the healthcare agent much more likely to have need for that, although there are people that get lucky and pass away in their sleep without any prior notice or warning, and that person never comes into play. So
Right.
probably out of all of them, the one that is going to have the biggest job, and maybe if we were going to say that one is more important than the others, it's going to be your successor trustee, just because they're going to be the person or persons who are wrapping up your entire estate,
Right.
making decisions about how to liquidate things, what realtor to use to sell the home. And then ultimately, they're going to be paying off last expenses. They're going to be putting together an inventory and a accounting, and ultimately making distributions and getting waivers and releases from the beneficiaries.
Right.
So if you were let's say that, Brian, I'm going to put you in a time machine. I'm going to send you into the future. 30 years. How old will you be in 30 years?
I will be 66.
Okay, so that's too young. I'm going to send you into the future 45 years.
45 years. Okay, now I'm 81.
Okay. So,
I'm up
and
there.
but way back when you were still 60 something is when you put your plan in place. So, but you are you're a single individual. So I'm taking away your current family situation in the time machine. You can
Okay.
have them back at the end of this episode.
That sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's probably the only way you're okay with me doing this.
It's all right.
So
It's all right.
you are a single gentleman who never married, never had children. You had a successful career, um, as an esteemed attorney. You own a home. You have a great retirement. But you are in an accident, car accident, and you end up in the ICU unconscious. Who, before this accident happened, who did you consider picking, or who would you recommend to yourself at this stage as an attorney, that you would consider selecting as a successor trustee, general durable power of attorney, an agent for power of attorney, a healthcare agent, and a funeral arranger, and why?
Yeah, I think my mind, well, kind of going off of what you said earlier, who do I think can do the job?
There you go. So
That's
you're
really,
taking the emotionality out of it right away. You're not
yeah,
worrying about who's going to feel excluded, or you're going to who is going to do the best job. So can you, from the people you know in your life, could you actually come up with some hypothetical people that would act in that? Maybe they're actual people, but who would hypothetically act in that scenario? And who would you go to?
for sure. Yeah. And I think one thing to keep in mind is I may not have family, I may not have kids, I may not have a spouse, but I still have relationships. There's no way that, I mean, maybe there's somebody who gets through life without any type of relationship with anybody, but I'm in community. I go to church. I have my work community, like the people at my office. Especially in like a law office, I'd probably feel comfortable maybe picking somebody from my law office if they'd be willing to do it. Siblings though, that's not off the table. I have siblings. Parents, well, if I'm 81, my parents probably have passed away by then. I'm the youngest of three though, so it's possible that my siblings, they're just older than me. So I get this a lot. Like I don't want somebody who's older than me maybe doing it. Maybe somebody who's my age or a little bit younger
Hmm.
to be able to take care of that. But just thinking about like who's in my communities and who do I know and who do I feel comfortable with and handling that. I'm looking at family first, maybe cousins even too. Like I have cousins that are younger than me.
And
Friends, close
you
friends.
probably have, you're probably a little young to have nieces and nephews that are of an appropriate age to do this. But do you have nieces and nephews that you could picture, 25 years down the road being the kind of people that you would trust with this?
No, for sure. Yeah. I mean, my oldest nephew, he is 16, I want to say right now.
Okay, so yeah,
Even then,
you kind of got an idea how that kid's going to turn out.
yeah, yeah, he's pretty solid. I would trust him for sure. So niece,
Okay.
give you a nephew. My niece right below him, she's 14 right now. I'd pick her too. She's awesome.
Okay.
Um,
So one thing I'd say, you brought up a good point, because I hear people struggle with this. They're like, "Well, I'd really like it to be my brother, but he's 3 years older than me." I tell people all the time, the beauty of planning is we don't just have one person to pick, right?
yeah,
We can list as many people down the line as we need to get this job done. So if right now in the moment your brother is the best option, then select him to be your successor trustee, or to be your healthcare agent, or to be your power of attorney. But then let's build a successorship, right? A list of people that go in a specific order, so that in the event that he does, you know, age poorly and pass before you do, or maybe just naturally passes before you, then we already have the next person in line. And so maybe you go with your brother, and then even though your nephew's only 16 and your niece is only how old?
she's 14.
14. There's nothing wrong with naming them down the road, maybe down the list, 2 or 3 people.
I agree. Yeah, because by the time this kicks into gear, they'll be adults probably. I mean, who knows, right? But most likely they'll be adults and on their own and being able to make these what feels like very adult decisions at that time. And yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, and I think another thing that comes up for people is they worry, well, I don't want this to be burdensome for this person. They're not my child. They're not. Um, we have ways of kind of easing that burden. The first one is we have the option, both in a power of attorney and in a trust, to provide for compensation. So those people can be paid for the time they spend acting in that capacity. We never have to ask somebody to do that for free. It feels a lot more natural to have your children act in that capacity free from any compensation, because in most cases, they're also beneficiaries, so they're
Right.
going to see some of the financial benefits. But I think that's true in a Solo-Agers situation, because the question then becomes also, like, who are you leaving your estate to? And in a lot of cases, it might be the same people that you're wanting to have act in those trusted capacities. So good chance, if you have no children, that you want to leave something to your niece or nephew. So keep in mind that they might be beneficiaries, and if they are, they're actually they're helping you by acting in that capacity, but um, there's also a good motivator for them, and that is that they're going to be a beneficiary of your
Right.
bounty, of the
Right.
things that you're able to save, right?
Right. Yeah. If I could, I just want to add one thing here. I do hear this a lot about, I don't want this to be a burden on somebody. I hear it just in like, oh, they have kids, they have a life, they have all these things going on. This should just be one more thing. I think the compensation is a good aspect to bring up. Another thing is just remember this is a voluntary position. They're not required to do it. Yes, we want them to. You list them because you want them to. But I mean, resignation's a thing. They can resign and it can go down to the next person on the list. They're not set in stone per se, like you must do this. It's no, if we want you to do it, but if you need to resign, because life changes for everybody, and we get that. But that's always an option as well.
Yeah, and it could be something that, like, when the time comes, your nephew's been in a serious accident and he's got some disabilities that just makes it so he can't act in that capacity. So it's not even just that he doesn't want to, although that could be a reason that he says, I have a lot going on in my family right now. It's not a good time. I'm going to just go ahead and resign, let the next person on the list take care of this. But it could be something where circumstances just don't even allow for him to do it. And that's why it's important that we build kind of a list of successors that could do it. I think another way to kind of ease the burden is this does not have to be one person acting in this
Yeah.
capacity. So if you have 16-year-old nephew and a 15-year-old niece. Maybe you name them as co-agents or co-successor trustees, and you say they at worst they could split the work 50-50, and knock it out that way. So you kind of cut the workload in half. So consider that as well.
Yeah,
Um, you said something earlier. I thought that you did a really good job too in a really short period of time. When I put you in that position of you have no children, you're not married, who are you going to go to? Like you had, um, you said I go to church, so I have a church community. You said I had a career, so I have professionals who, by the way, just happen to be the type of people that would be very well equipped to handle
for
this
sure. Yeah.
if you're in an estate planning firm.
Yeah,
You said I have extended family. So I think that's probably the key for people in this situation is to get creative and think about all the different aspects of your life and the good people that you have in your life. And then maybe you have to push through a little bit of discomfort and have a difficult, what might feel like a difficult conversation with these people about filling this role for you. But I think that in a lot of ways and in a lot of cases, this is something that ends up being a pretty positive type of a discussion
I
for
agree.
people. Um, you ask somebody to do this, they are flattered. You know, they're honored by that. They feel a weight of responsibility. They feel, um, included by you. They maybe realize that they've got a depth of relationship with you that they didn't realize that they had, and this is something that strengthens that
Yeah.
relationship.
Oh, for sure. I agree. One
So, um, yeah, so I think that's a great way to go about it.
If I can just throw
Yeah, absolutely.
one more thought, or one more thing that might be a consideration is geography. How close are they to you? How close are they to your stuff?
Physically.
Yeah, physically. There's no restriction on, like, if someone, we're on the west side, right, of the country. If somebody's on the east coast, you can always select them. There's nothing wrong with that. Logistically, maybe a little more difficult to try to get out here and do things. So if you can find someone closer, maybe a better strategy. But I wouldn't say that that is like make or break in trying to pick somebody. I mean, we have plenty of clients who their people are all over the U.S. and they're picked, and it's like, well, okay, that's fine, nothing wrong with that. Just know there might be some logistical challenges, but the compensation can come back in. The reimbursement for travel is in the documents as well, and all that can be taken care of if it comes down to it.
Yeah, and what I'd say too about that is that um, you're going to have a feel for the type of people that you're asking. Like, um, if they're just not the kind of person that's going to get on a plane when you die and make sure they're there for your funeral and want to be part of that, then maybe they're not a good fit. But I think most people have somebody in their life that even if they lived far away, they're doesn't matter what happens. Like doesn't matter when it happens, they're going to get on a plane, they're going to get in the car, they're going to make that trip. They
Yeah,
100% are going to be there to support you in that scenario when you're no longer around and you need that assistance.
right.
Um, hopefully you can locate people like that in your life. Okay, let's say though that because I have seen this, somebody who's super introverted. Uh, I mean, I've had times where I go through and I run through all those possible places where they have community or where they have people, and we're just coming up blank because
Yeah,
they don't have a church community. They don't have a former professional community. They don't have a lot of friends or neighbors that they trust in that situation.
right.
So what are the options for somebody like that that it really comes down to there's not a ton of individuals that they could draw on for that?
Yeah. I'm thinking of two options. There's a worst case scenario, and then there's a next best scenario. And I'd rather
Okay.
worst case scenario, somebody out there is going to be picking for you, and it's going to be a complete stranger at that point, most likely. And just if we need to get the state, it's probably the state is where we're thinking like a court proceeding and things like that. I'd say that's worst case scenario. I don't. We can go down that path if we need to, but I mean, at the very least, if you are going to be picking, and which is what we want to do, there are businesses that can do this. Like, that is their business. Put me down as your successor trustee, as your power of attorney, put our business down, and when the time comes, we will step in and we will be able to take care of everything from there.
Yeah, and I guess your kind of your options. The first one is one that I had not heard of a ton, and that was the state office of, I think it's
What, guardian?
professional fiduciary. Let me see what it. Can't remember what it was called. Give me 2 seconds. I think I can find it. I will find it. But anyway, government office. I'd probably say that'd be your last choice. The intermediate categories would be like a trust department at a bank or credit
Yeah.
union or a standalone trust company. The drawback with that is the fees are pretty high. It's been a long time since I've looked at what those fees are, but I've heard, to the tune of they take like 1%, or they take like 2% of the first 1 or 2 million annually, and they take 1% of every additional million. So you're talking, several $100,000 a year that could be coming out of the estate to hire someone like that. And in some cases, the size of the estate is going to justify that kind of a fee structure. But there are also private fiduciaries where they're not a huge corporation. They're more of a personalized, maybe it's a 1 or 2 person shop, and they come in and they charge a much less onerous fee for the work that they do. But I know there are several in our area that you could look online for, or ask your estate planning attorney who's a good reference for a private fiduciary in your area that could fill that
Yeah.
responsibility.
Yeah.
So those are just some additional options. So I think that about covers it. Any other thoughts before we wrap it up?
Just, can I have my family back now? Like, are we at that
Yes,
point?
yes, yes, yes.
Thank you.
So you're zooming back in the time machine. You are married with, remind me how many kids you have
We got
now?
three now.
Three
Three
children
kids.
now.
Yep.
Um, it's your birthday soon.
Yes. Yes. Couple days. We
You
got the
see in the
sign up today
background
for anybody
there that the
watching.
sign
Yep.
up is happy birthday to
Yep.
Brian. So yeah, it's all back. You
Thank
have
goodness.
the full palette of people you can select from for your estate plan.
Perfect.
But thank you for helping out our solo-agers and stepping into that
For
role
sure.
today.
Yep.
Thanks for listening, everyone. If you found something worthwhile in our podcast today, please share this with somebody that could benefit from it. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. We'll finish with our disclaimer. Brian and I are both estate planning attorneys by training and trade. That's what we do every day. That's what we love to do every day. The purpose of our podcast, however, is not to give legal advice. We encourage everyone to seek us out or seek out an attorney in your area that's licensed and qualified to do this work, and get your legal advice there. But we hope that you found something worthwhile and enjoyed today's episode, and we'll look forward to catching you on the next one.
Sounds great. Thank you. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
You've been listening to Legacy Lawyers with Michael Haslam and Nathan Croxford. We give you the juicy detail of cases that our law firm has dealt with. We take out the lawyer talk and legalese and show you what options some of our clients had to choose from to fix their situation. The effects of not doing planning can be devastating. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, hook up with us on Facebook and Instagram at Voyant Legal. Call us at 801-951-0500 or send us an email at team@voyantlegal.com. And for commonly asked questions, hit voyantlegal.com/resources. We'll see you next time.